some way with ADHD, we're not that great. Like, I feel like I'm always going to sleep way later than I want to.
Yeah, here comes the conundrum, the catch-22. People with ADHD struggle with sleep.
Tired of ADHD overwhelm? Let's make life so much better with ADHD. I'm Nachi Felt.
And I'm Dovid Becker. We get it. We've been there, and we love to talk about it. We're on fire, and this is ADHD on Fire. Nachi, good morning. How are ya?
Tired of ADHD overwhelm.
Oh, okay. You came to the right place, because by the time this episode is over, we'll be done with tired and overwhelmed and all of these issues. That's why I thought, let's go on a complete ADHD tangent and talk about sleep. Why did I think of this? Because someone sent us an email, and I was so inspired that we got feedback. I'm like, hey, let's be responsive to the feedback and get completely derailed and talk about sleep. Because someone said, could you talk about sleep? I'm like, yeah, I love talking about sleep.
I actually love sleeping more than I love talking about sleep.
But how do we do this? How do we do this with intention? Like, you have a whole way to not feel guilty about getting derailed and tangentialized by I don't know, some cycle or something.
Zooming out to zoom in. Yeah, so let's zoom out. Let's just talk about sleep. So what is the point of sleep? What do we need it for? Like, I think that's a great place to start.
Okay, so I would say there's two things. One is why sleep, and two is ADHD and sleep. Like, why ADHD, the impact of ADHD and sleep. Oh, and three is what to do about it. Because if we only talk about theory and we don't solve the problem, then we stink. So yeah, let's go back to the beginning. Tell me about sleep. Why is it important to you?
So what I found is that, like, it's sleep and food. If I'm not taking care of my basic needs, I'm a nasty, nasty man. I even have like a little lunchbox that says on it, hangry, right? And definition, when you get angry because you're hungry. And my daughter's son said, Daddy, that's you. Shut up, kid. And so like this idea, like when we're not well slept or well fed, we're just so much more irritable. So now if you take that out, like, this is just a need. In order for us to be functional, in order for us to be able to have the internal energy to direct our life with intentionality or without, right? But at least some sort of direction, we need to have our basic needs being met. And somehow, some way with ADHD, we're not that great. Like, I feel like I'm always going to sleep way later than I want to. And then I always have to wake up at the same time, no matter what. Kids got to get on the bus, and that's just got to happen. So, like, at some point, something gives, and that's usually my sleep. And, like, I can't do coffee because I'm on stimulant. So with me being on ADHD meds, coffee just makes me jittery and weird. Get a weird headache. It's just not good for me. So, like, I can't even do the Celsius chill that everyone else does. Like, caffeine, I'm already like on a prescription grade, like
Caffeine.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
So
But wait, I always thought of the big three, which is sleep, food, and exercise. Right. So I think of the big three as
that'd be great.
I think that, like, the metaphor I've used is an executive function. Think of it as like almost like a gas tank, right? Like if you fuel the tank, the car runs. If you're out of fuel, then it doesn't. So there's sleep, sleep, food, and exercise. If you have all three, then you're at least setting yourself up for the maximum abilities of your executive function system as it is, right? But if you don't, then it's exacerbated. You're exacerbating an existing problem. And you already have a underdeveloped and weakened executive function system. And by not sleeping enough, or not eating, or not exercising, getting movement, you're just making a bad situation worse. You're running on empty. You're running on fumes, and it's disastrous. Like the way I always think about, let's say, fast days, right? We have these fast days, and we're grumpy, and we're like, we just walk around in a daze on a fast day because you just don't have the fuel to fuel the executive function tank. Same thing with sleep. If you have a day when you didn't sleep nearly enough, like you have that night when you stay up till 3 or 4 or whatever, for whatever reason, and probably, hopefully, a good reason.
Not
I
because I
don't know.
was trying to finish all the episodes of the show. No, never. That never happened.
No. More like, I don't know, your wife was in labor or something. Some
Oh
good
yeah.
reason.
Yeah. That
Some
happened
good
only like
reason.
6, 7, 8. Like maybe 3, 4 times a week.
So, so what happens? You're groggy the whole next day, right? Because and you don't function well, and you don't get stuff done, and you're like in a little bit of a daze. Now, so those are two. But I feel like exercise. That's not the topic of our show today, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. But I think exercise is like the lost one of the three, because the results aren't so obvious. Like when you don't sleep, when you don't eat, you know it. When you don't exercise, you kind of don't know it. Why? Because we never exercise. We sleep every night. We eat every day. So like the absence of sleep and food is glaring and obvious. Exercise is more like if you get in a habit of never exercising, so you never exercise. So you don't really know what life could be like when you exercise, except for that once when you end up exercising, you feel exhausted after. So you're like, what? This whole exercise thing is stupid. So those are the big three. But sleep is huge, right? Because sleep has that mega compounding impact on executive function. So that's I guess part one, which means that when we don't sleep, executive function tank is not fueled, and all the things that are hard for neurotypical people and even harder for people with ADHD become impossible.
I like
But
that.
here comes the conundrum, the catch-22. People with ADHD struggle with sleep at very high rates for a few reasons. I know a couple. It's like this: there's a few things coming crashing together at once that are getting in the way of sleep for people with ADHD. Number one is that, remember, Dr. Nachifeld says that being ADHD means that you're a slave to stimulation.
I didn't say,
So you always
but
what?
but you're super attracted to it. Yeah, the stimulation.
Right. You always need action. You always need something going on. You need something to feed your brain, right? The motor doesn't stop. You can't shut it. So now this same person who needs endless stimulation, we tell him, okay, now we'd like you to lie down in your bed horizontally and do nothing. And then just wait, and you will drift off into this dreamland called sleep. So, can you think of anything in the world less stimulating and more boring than laying horizontally on a bed and doing nothing? So, therefore, right, we'll procrastinate going to bed because bed is boring, right? Bed is boring. If bed is boring, we're not going to go. That
That's a
means
great
that
title for the show. Bed is boring.
bed is boring. That's right. So anything in the world will be more interesting than going to sleep, which is why you'll delay, and finally get into bed at 1, 2, whatever it is. Now, if you introduce a screen, social media, something like that, then forget it. You're lost in ADHD la la land, and that you have no sense of time because people with ADHD are often time blind. So now we have someone who's procrastinating sleep, avoiding sleep, and gets caught in something stimulating, such as doom scrolling, social media, and it'll never go to sleep. So that's
It doesn't
problem.
have to be doom scrolling, which is like designed to suck you in. It could be anything but sleep. That means anything.
True.
It means it could be that you're like shuffling through old bills. You'd rather read old bills. I would rather read old bills and be like, hey, what's this from? Oh yeah, I did have to repair the filter on my fridge. Did I do that? Oh my god, wow. That's why that little button light thing is going. Yeah, totally.
How did you know? Happens to be I ordered it. I didn't
I
put it
didn't
in.
get my light's still on for the past 3 months. I really need to order it. Oh wait, maybe I did.
Hello, you know what I just discovered? The most awesome thing ever in the history of the world, possibly greatest invention since, what is it, sliced bread? Um, Smoke alarms with 10-year batteries. How cool is that?
That is brilliant. I have to
Because you
write
know
that
how
down.
many people with ADHD are at high risk of smoke inhalation or carbon monoxide because they never change their batteries, because you have to remember to change the battery. So a 10-year battery, it's awesome. How did we get there? Because we're talking about sleep. Okay, so yeah, you'd rather pay your taxes and work on your tax returns than go to sleep. Everything is better than sleep. Okay, so that's problem number one. Problem number two is biologically, the circadian rhythm, which is the natural rhythm of our body, is seems to be distorted for people with ADHD, so that when neurotypical people are starting to get tired at night, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, naturally your body starts to feel tired. People with ADHD, I've seen this particularly in kids, are just starting to get their second wind. They're revving up, so they're not even feeling tired at that point. They're delayed by about 2 hours. So if the average person's getting tired at 10, they're not even dreaming of getting tired till 12. So that's problem number one. And by the way, the flip side of this is that since your whole sleep cycle is delayed, also can't get up in the morning, right? Because you're just backlogged. So in the morning you're a log. And then if you have something like you mentioned before, you have to get up because you have kids for the bus. So you have no choice, right? So then you're ripping yourself out of bed at the time in your sleep cycle that you're doing who knows what, like recalibrating the memories and integration and whatever, all consolidation, integration, remediation, whatever it is that's going on in there, right? That's helping you to function better is not happening. So the guy who struggles with working memory, right, is not even encoding things properly because you're not giving your brain a chance to do it. So you're
Yeah.
just a good mess.
I'm smiling because like I'm totally super awake at night, right? Like nocturnally, like I was born to be a predator, a hunter, a killer. All right, I could totally like stay up all night. I wrote all of my svarim, my dissertation, all my papers between 1 and 4 a.m. Basically, that's like my
There you
when
go.
Alan Brown asks me, he goes, "So, what's your most your strongest time?" That's when you have to like focus on getting work done. What's your strongest time? I'm like, 1 to 4. He's like, in the afternoon. I'm like, no, a.m.
Yep.
And totally. But then in the morning, I'm a goner. Totally gone. I'm like bleary eyed as I'm taking the kids out to the bus. If I ever have days that I'm off, right? I'll like to me, the gift of a day off is getting to sleep in that whole morning because I can't do like at night. I just won't sleep. I just don't sleep at night.
Right.
I'm only tired in the morning, and it was like that for like the beginning of when I was in yeshiva. So that first like class, that first section of the day is like the most focused day, right? That's the most focused part of the day, and that was my favorite part of the day because I actually love that kind of stuff, the studying that happened in the morning. But I was always so bummed, and I have this huge headache, and like I just didn't know everyone else is talking around, yelling, screaming at each other, and I'm just like trying to like just I don't know, hold my head up. It was so brutal, and still like that, honestly. Except that I've taken a few steps, otherwise known
Well,
as
we'll
exercise.
talk about those steps soon because they're
Do
going to
that.
be important. I just want to say, so yeah, like you know, what it's doing is exacerbating an existing problem, like the memory issue, like having trouble holding on to things, remembering things. That's just going to get worse when you don't have sleep. I once I was once online and I discovered that Harvard University has these like micro courses that you can purchase, right? Like I thought so cool. Like I'm going to Harvard, right? For $40, I can purchase a course, and they had a course on memory. And that's a very, very near and dear topic to me because I have the worst memory in history. So I'm like, hey, for $40, I can buy a Harvard course on memory and learn how to remember things better. I was like, so cool for me, like so cool. So impulsively, I bought it for
Doesn't
forty
your wife
dollars.
have a rule that you're not allowed to buy these things without asking her?
No, she doesn't have a rule that I'm not allowed to buy these things without asking her. Um, or maybe she does and I
That's
forgot.
for subscriptions. Oh, that was for subscriptions.
Subscriptions, yeah. We have a no subscriptions rule. No subscriptions. No, asking wouldn't help.
Okay,
subscriptions
wait,
are
yeah.
subscriptions are intended for people with ADHD, right? And the way that they get you is with the free 14-day trial, which there's no chance in the world that you're going to remember to cancel.
Right.
Um,
Wait, so
but
tell me
anyway,
what happened to the memory thing. Yeah, so you went to Harvard
I
for 30
booked this
bucks.
course, and I promptly forgot about it. So I never actually logged in to watch it because I don't have a memory. So I didn't remember that I bought the course. It was only like a year or two later when I was feeling down about my lack of memory. And I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever happened to that Harvard memory thing? So I thought it was quite comical that I forgot to watch my course on how to remember things. It's kind of like trying to remember to take ADHD medication without your medication. Same issue. So sleep is important, right? And here I'll tell you that we're in middle of, this is a tangent from marriage and relationships, but I could just tell you that in many of the couples that I've worked with, where one of the spouses has ADHD, let's quote the husband for this one, that becomes a huge challenge in a marriage. Why? Because the husband has to get up, or it could be the wife also, but either way. But they have to get up for what? For work, sometimes for davening, for prayers, or for responsibilities like bringing the kids to the bus. Now, what happens is if the ADHD spouse can't wake up in the morning because they're so tired, because their circadian rhythm is off, because they were up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning on YouTube or whatever, on taxes, whatever it was. So then what happens is the non-ADHD spouse has to take over the mornings. So now the non-ADHD spouse is what is that spouse busy with? All the responsibilities that the ADHD spouse is supposed to be taking care of. So then what does non-ADHD spouse do? Aside from feeling that burden of like everything falls on me, like I have to do everything, my spouse isn't taking responsibility, they also feel like, and I have to get my spouse out of bed, because I don't get my spouse out of bed, then they're gonna lose their job and we won't have money, or the kids won't make the bus and we'll be dysfunctional, and all that. So then they take on an additional burden of being an alarm clock. As soon as that happens, we're in deep trouble, deep trouble, because there's resentment, there's frustration, there's the parent-child dynamic sets in, right? Where you're just the parent again, trying to wake your kid and get him up for the bus in the morning, and from there you have a downward spiral. And really, once you understand the biology of this and you understand circadian rhythm and the executive function piece, and the impact executive function has on sleep. So then you have the acceptance of like, okay, I'm accepting that this is an ADHD struggle, which leads to change, which is, okay, so this is it. ADHD is an explanation, not an excuse. Now I got what's going on here, but how can I change it? And now I turn it over to Dr. Nachi Felt, who obviously has solved this problem in his own personal life and is a pro at going to sleep and at waking up on time, and therefore is a far better model than me for how to approach this issue. The great Dr. Felt, take it away.
So yeah, what I love about how you're breaking it down is that it's so much more normalized now for like everyone listening to, like, even as I was listening, I was feeling comforted by you, because I was like, oh yeah, it's just my circadian rhythm. It's not me.
That's right.
I'm not a
I don't even know.
Nothing.
I don't think anyone knows what circadian rhythms are and what circadia stands for.
I thought related to the bug. Is that a fly?
The grasshoppers, right?
Oh, that's what it
right. Is. So apparently, when they come in once every 19 years to Baltimore, they come in a rhythm. I have no idea. It has to do with your body feeling tired at night, okay? And there's a cycle and there's a pattern, and that and it's off in people with ADHD. I don't think we need to know more than that. I hope. I'm not saying anything that makes no sense. Some like medical doctor is going to be listening and be like,
"I think talking about what is going on?"
The circadians.
Anyway, the
evil
point is
grasshoppers.
For the key ingredients here, though, that you highlighted, right, is the stimulation and this idea of like at some point being able to recognize your responsibility, right? So Ari Tuckman has that great line that in relationships, it's the non-ADHD spouse has to learn to step down, right? Meaning not to be the alarm, not to be the one who takes responsibility for the partner and turns into the parent, right? And the person with ADHD has to learn how to step up, right? And become that person who could get themselves up, which means really getting themselves to bed, right? Ari's other great line is good mornings need good nights. So in a way, when you see it through the lens of stimulation, right? And that it's all about a stimulation thing. So then we have to keep in mind that therefore our goal is to stimulate ourselves to whatever degree we can throughout the day and to work our body and our mind so that by the time it hits around somewhat of a normal like night between 11 and 1 a.m., 11 and 2, that's okay also. Somewhere in between there, like when the rest of the world is already fast asleep, that's when we should start like allowing ourselves to like say, okay, this is a good time for us to allow ourselves to sleep. I still remember as a kid, like in high school, I would be I would be like ready for I would have to go to bed, whatever curfew that I had to do. And I would just lay in bed wide awake, and I would do anything to stimulate my mind. I would do Sudoku. I don't like now I can't even look at one of those things anymore. I don't know why anyone would want to
I never
whatever.
figured it out in the first place,
Yeah,
so I'm
whatever.
good.
Did that and like sit ups and push ups just to get my body tired. I was hoping that maybe if I like exhaust my body, then I would just pass out, right? And even though my mind is awake, maybe my body would be so tired. All I ended up being was some super jacked high school kid who still never slept because like my body would be like totally wiped. And then by the time my brain finally turned off, there was no way to wake up that body in the morning because I had just spent the whole night doing push-ups and sit-ups. And my father would warn me, you can't do push-ups and exercise at night. It stimulates your body. And I'm like, I don't even know, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? So it's a really, really tough place to be in, which is what do you do? Like, how do you get yourself there? So what a lot of people have found to be successful and helpful is utilizing those three needs, right? Like, for instance, something as simple as food. A lot of times if you're on a stimulant, right, or on ADHD medication, when you get that crash at the end of the day, and so it's like kind of leaving your body. So I get this like ravenous zombie mode where I just go around devouring food. So in high school, that was basically just like endless cereal and milk throughout the night. Now I try to drop healthier and keep the good cereal for the kids. So I just try to pound salad. But the idea is that
Salad late at night.
yeah, because if you eat anything real, then you get that nasty, gross feeling in your stomach and you wake up all weird the next day. It's just not worth it. So I'll do salad. This way it's light. I don't know. I feel like I'm healthy. And it's just stimulating to like eat
The
stuff.
crunch.
Yeah, and there's also like stuff. It's like tomato bursts with juiciness. There's a crunch of a cucumber, lettuce to just fill in everything. I don't know. The point is that like there's a lot going on. You can make it stimulating. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Also, it's like an easy. You just throw the stuff into a bowl, put on Ken's Italian dressing, and everything's good in the world. So
I've never in my life heard of anyone binging on salad, so that's cool.
yeah, it makes my wife feel guilty.
Chocolate chip salad.
Yeah, my wife's like, I'm down for chocolate and chips, and you're eating salad. You make me feel so guilty. But the point is that um, that is trying to take advantage of our needs to some degree. Like for me, my personal system is I'll eat salad till I get that like full feeling, and so then that like kind of puts me into that Shabbos afternoon bloated right after the meal feeling, right? So like you get something of like okay, my body feels ready for it, and then a wind down where like I'm conditioning my body. Now everyone has this stuff. We've all read about this, and we're like, oh god, I'm supposed to do it. But we have to keep in mind two things, right? There's the like how to get myself to do what I need to do and how to avoid the things that are going to take me away from my goal. So, for instance, I'm just going to walk through my routine and then we'll break it down. Ready? So, my routine is I take my phone and I charge it in a different room, right? So, for me, I'm very lucky. It's my office is here. My bedroom is like literally right next door. So, I charge it in my office. That means I can even hear the alarm in the morning, but I did buy a separate alarm to have next to my bed. This way, I'm not dependent upon my phone. So, phone's away. It's gone. Otherwise, on those nights that I have had my phone with me, just because I'm expecting a call from I don't know, right, the president, right? Then
Forget it.
I've been up till whenever, doom scrolling on dumb stuff.
Hold one second. You don't have to answer this now, but later. Let's get back to it. I just don't want to forget it. The question on this one is that you're making an assumption. I mean, it's very easy for anyone to say like, should not have your phone in the bedroom, right? Because that makes perfect sense, especially for ADHD. Having your phone in your bedroom is like a sleepless sentence, right? There's no chance. So, but what I've encountered is like that in and of itself is a whole project. Meaning, especially for someone who's been conditioned to a phone in the bedroom. So, like now I already have it. Like, if you never had your phone in your bedroom, okay, like it's easier to keep out. But I feel like if someone comes into your office who's like been having his phone in his bedroom for 4 years, and we say, okay, so the solution is you have to remove the phone from the bedroom. they like smile and nod and do it for 2 nights, and then they're back to phone in the bedroom. So
A thousand
just
percent.
I'm
Yeah,
putting it out there that I want to explore that. I don't want to get sidetracked into that discussion, but it is a discussion.
got it. I was that guy who had my phone with me in my bed for 4 years.
Good. So
So
we'll talk about
yeah,
we'll get back to that.
we'll
Keep
get there.
going.
So I'm just talking about it now, and then we'll break down all of the whys and hows. Right. So that's number one is I keep the charger in the office. Right. So it's outside my
Great.
bedroom. There's no charger in my thing. Now, on the nights that my phone has been already fully charged for some weird reason, because iPhones on purpose somehow seem to lose their charge rapidly right after you bought it. On the nights that it's like an over 80, then and I take it with me because I'm like, oh, I don't need to charge it, so I don't have to leave it in the other room. Sweet, I beat my own system, right? So those are the nights that I end up staying up all night. What were you gonna say before?
No, I was going to say that. Yeah, I think that they wait until you're just out of the return window,
Yeah, the
and
Apple Care
then they
thing.
kill the battery.
Right. There's a guy with the button. Okay, bam, got him.
There was actually a lawsuit. Apple got sued for doing exactly that, where they were killing batteries so people should buy new phones.
Yeah, I do remember reading that. Yeah, with one of the upgrades, the upgrade that they sent you did that. Yeah. Oh my
We
god.
have murdered your battery. Buy a new phone immediately.
Right. Here, come
Okay,
back to us.
so step one in the felt method. Step one is keep your phone out.
Yeah,
But
separate.
I would just
It's
I would
number one.
posit that
20
years ago, before we had these phones, like people with ADHD weren't sleeping either. So let's move forward from there.
I just call it reduce the distraction, R&D. Right? You know,
R&D.
the first step to anything successful in life is R&D. Right, reduce the distraction. Right. Step two is
Can I ask a funny question?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be RTD?
True. That would
but
be
R&D sounds better.
Sounds way better. Yeah. So we're gonna stick with
reduce.
R&D. That makes sense.
Reduce. No distraction. R&D.
That's good. So then there's stimulating. It's in a way it's super stimulating. If you super stimulate throughout the day, then by the time my head hits the pillow, I'm usually gone. That's the only way I can sleep. Because if I'm not super stimulated, if I wasn't if I didn't exert myself throughout the day, I'm just gonna lay there in bed with my brain going over everything that happened, all my brilliant schemes for how I'm going to take over the world and get super rich, and then get distracted by, hey, how did my friend do that thing? Or I wonder
what are you going to do with all the money once you're super rich? Like all the
yeah,
charity you're going to give.
yeah, the classic, right? If I bought a lottery ticket, like that kind of stuff.
So the only question I have on this, which is super stimulating, I like that because everyone does it.
Stimulation satisfaction, which is that we need to satisfy this aspect, right? We have to go through a whole day where our days need to have some sort of we take care of our brain. You can't be
which again is a whole nother project. The whole project. So we have two projects, and then but also that's on the assumption that you can connect your head with the pillow, right? This will help if your head connects with the pillow.
Yeah.
But we also have to get your head to the pillow.
Yeah, it's all about getting your head to the pillow. We're going to try to get that. So that leads us to the final step, which is night routine, right? So the night routine is, in a weird way, I'm going to tell you mine so that everyone can we'll break down the active ingredients of it. So my night routine is I have this thing where I do Musser. It's I read, some sort of character development stuff. So I've been doing this for years and years and years. I do 20 seconds of reading a night. 20 seconds. That's it. Because everyone, they have all these things like, oh, read 1 page a night, and then you'll be so smart. Or 10 minutes of learning every day makes you so smart. I can't, because I'm always going to sleep way later than I wanted to go to sleep. And so the 10 minutes is a critical core 10 minutes between 2:50 a.m. and 3 a.m. And that's huge. That's huge for me, at least psychologically. So I can't do 10 minutes. Right. I can always utilize.
Once you see the 3, you're done for the day.
Right, because then I'm just going right. And then if it's 3:01, then I might as well stay up till 3:30. I'll stop then. Right.
Right.
Yeah, right. So the point is that for me, it's utilizing an aspect of self-seduction, which is I could seduce myself to do 20 seconds of reading. Because it's 20 seconds, 20 seconds, even if it is 2:50 at night, I could do 20 seconds. Now, right, obviously, that alone is never going to work. In fact, last night I sat there going, I don't want to do it. But then I remembered my gummy worms. So the second part of this is to have fighting fire with fire, which is that I have this, don't tell my kids, secret stash of gummy bears and gummy worms inside my nightstand. And every now and then I have to be careful because my wife cleans me out, especially if she's not in the mood for salad that night. So, and the rule is for me that I get to eat my gummy bears while I'm doing my 20 seconds.
Uh-huh.
You're laughing.
I'm just laughing because, like, don't tell your kids. Also, don't tell your dentist.
As I ran it by the dentist, he's like, "You what? Right before you go to bed, every night? Are you serious?" I'm like, "Okay, don't give me that look." But it works for me, so that's what it is. And
are
so
they sour?
No. But I have a toothbrush also in there. He said at least like brush it off afterwards. But it's gross. Whatever. It is what it is. So the point is, and I keep like a little bottle of Listerine until I remember like where are you spitting that. So that was also stupid. But the point is that it's this like combo, right? Where I have my little routine that has incentives built into it. So 20 seconds is a nice self seduction, right? And it's a wind down. It's happens to be like the past couple of months I've been doing something on like the idea of like just kind of relying on God, or just like the idea of like kind of having a certain calm that things will work out. So that's been my chill. And so like I don't know, it's a nice little thing. It turns that stimulation I'm turning the engine of my mind towards this concept, right? Where I'm like thinking about character development and getting better. And we all know that our number one thing is avoiding. So my brain would rather avoid thinking about how to get better if I could, right? And so it's like almost like choosing between, hey, let me think about the uncomfortable things about me that I should really be getting better at, or go to sleep. Wonder which one I'll choose. And somehow that's been really, really working out for me, is that I do this like little chill, 20 seconds. And sometimes if it's like really interesting, I'll read more than 20 seconds, right? Sometimes if it's really late at night, then I'm looking at my watch, 20 seconds and 20 seconds. Even if it was just close to 20 seconds, I'm good. But the idea is that I've kind of in a weird way incentivized myself where like, even at night, if I'm like feeling peckish, and I'm not in the mood for salad, but I'm kind of, I could go for some gummy bears, right? So I'll be attracted to go to my bed so that I could then do the 20 seconds. And
do you stop at one gummy bear or like?
No, I'm allowed to have as many as I want as long as I'm on the page, as long as I'm reading. So I'll have like a handful or 3, like depending on what I'm in the mood for.
Interesting. Because for me, like, I'd need a container a night. Because like a Pringle concept, once you pop, you can't stop.
It's really, really tough. Yeah. I mean, when you've been through it this long, you've reached the point where there's such a thing as too many gummy bears, but that's rare, and your body resets the next day, so it's okay.
So let me do a quick summary. What I'm hearing from you so far are 3 things. Number 1 was this idea of R&D, reduce no distractions, which means the idea of potentially leaving your phone out of your room, and we left as a side to one day talk about like
books, magazines, like that kind of stuff. Like the only book on my nightstand is this one that I'm doing, right? Like that, and I have like whatever, this little like checklist of how I did that day, but that's a separate thing. I don't want to get.
And number 2 is the routine.
No, it's the stimulation, right? Satisfying
stimulation, right? Try to super stimulate during the day. Thank you. I missed that one. And number 3
is incentivized night routine.
Incentivized night routine. Okay.
Right? It's kind of smart. And now let's break it down. What about that works, right? So for all of us, like none of us want to do a night routine. I remember like fighting as in high school that no, I don't want to have a bedtime. I don't want to have a night routine, nothing. Definitely didn't want to floss. That was for sure. But here, right? So in a way, the night routine could be anything, right? It could be for some people, it could be a shower. It could be for some people, it could be, I don't know, even if they want, like you could have like a thing where you check in with your spouse or your partner at night that like, hey, like, let's talk a little bit. That's a hard one because the non-ADHD people are usually fast asleep before we're even beginning to think about going to sleep. So whatever, we'll talk about that when we talk about marriage again. That's the sleep discrepancy is a whole different.
Right. That's the whole, right. Yeah.
So that's number 1, right? Is the idea of allowing yourself to have some aspect where you recognize, hey, what's getting in my way, right? That's one of my famous questions, right? What's in my way? What's getting in my way? If you're able to identify what's getting in our way, then we could reduce those distractions. If what's getting in my way is work right? That you told yourself that, oh, yeah, 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 I'll finish this when I get home. Yeah, right. Right. So you have all this work that you told yourself you were going to finish when you get home. That becomes a distraction because you're telling yourself you're going to finish doing that work at night, but you don't have the brain power to do it or the willpower, neither of which. So instead, you end up just distracting yourself even more, looking up the news when you're supposed to be doing work on your computer. And so then you're just up later and later and later. And it turns out that this like makeup work or homework becomes your distraction. So in a way, it would be the same thing, right? I would say, all right, let's reverse engineer that. That means that when you're at work, you don't bring it home. Over, done, finished. So when you have that hard and fast rule, which is really painful to do, because that was kind of like our golden escape ticket that we always rely on throughout the day is, yeah, 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 I'll finish it later. Again, the lies we tell ourselves, right? Then it makes it a little bit more final and a little bit more of like, oh my gosh, like, so here at work, I really need to get it done because no, I can't bring it home. And first of all, that's a marriage saver right then and there, right? It could
Mm-hmm.
really also save your emotional health. Like coming home just clean and like, I'm just good is a huge, huge improvement that people tell me really changes their lives, right? But more importantly, what we're looking at is just practically is it reduce the distraction because now it means that you're not following up on that stuff. You're not dragging yourself back to the computer when your spouse is going to bed. So you go, oh, honey, I just have finished one paper and then I'll, right? Like even grading papers, like that kind of stuff. Like I'm guilty of that. Like I used to always say, no, 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 let me just grade a paper or two. And then I'll be right back. I'll be right with you. Let me just finish I'm just going to do three. I'm just grading three papers. Yeah, right.
So, just a couple other pieces I want to pop in here that I think we didn't address, but we should. Um, One is the impact that sometimes medication stimulants might have on sleep, right? Because that's a biggie. Some people have a side effect from their medication that they don't get tired. It keeps them up. So,
Just remember, take
how
your
would you
meds
manage
early
that?
enough in the day that
Okay, so you manage it by adjusting the dosage, adjusting the med, adjusting the
when you
timing.
take
Okay, okay, that was one thing, and then I think really still to be addressed is
sorry.
um,
It's making me think of the times that I like hit my pants pocket at 1 in the afternoon. I'm like, and I feel my medicine in my pocket. I'm like, oh God, this is going to be bad. This is going to be real bad. Right. Because I have a whole
right,
day of work still left ahead of me. But if I take it now, there's no way my brain's going to shut off before 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
right, okay. Also, another thing that comes up is screens and blue light and all that.
It is what it is. Those make some sort of difference. But again, like for ADHD, our bigger problems are internal.
Okay, so you wouldn't worry about screens before bedtime or anything like that.
It is what it is. If you're doing this stuff right, you could be looking at a screen and then 2 seconds later be in bed munching on your gummy bears, reading a piece of paper or whatever, a book. If you want to be reading Atomic Habits, I don't know, whatever you want to read, right? And you'll be out.
Wow. Okay. And then the other thing is just like the idea of the timing of how to remember, like in the moment, to do this whole system. Like even it's almost like the night could just get away from you because you're not aware that it went from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So so
That's really,
really,
really important. I like that you brought that up. And again, part of the incentivized night routine is having things that you do it around each time, right? At this time, I'm doing this. At this time, I'm doing that. Again, I'm really lucky, right? So I go to like this like group learning thing with a bunch of my friends every night. I do that till like 10 o'clock at night. Then 10 till 11:15, I give my own little like learning thing in my house. So like 11:15, my night's just starting. So that's great. Like that's really great because that means I really like maximize this whole like super stimulation thing throughout the day that my brain's really been working till 11:15 at night. And so like I have a much better chance then of doing this wind down. Does that make sense? And 12 o'clock's a natural cutoff for a lot of people to remind you, oh wait, that's late. All right.
right, you
But
just have to know that it's 12 o'clock. Like it's
right,
something
we
to pay
just have
attention
to know.
to. Um, okay. Wow. This was a lot. So let me just get this all clear in my brain so that I take something out of this. We talked a lot about sleep today, and we talked about the challenges of the importance of sleep for executive function, right? Getting enough sleep, for being able to wake up in the morning, the impact on marriage, impact on behavioral activation, the impact on memory
Productivity.
and productivity, everything that falls apart when you need sleep, with a little slight detour to food and exercise as well, which maybe need their own
Well,
episode.
I just
Then
want to
we talked
clarify
about.
that exercise
Mhm.
is a great thing for step 2, right? For that for super stimulating throughout the day.
Yeah.
Exercise, again, like you said, it's not something you feel in the moment, right? But consistently, if you're working out, right? Like I'm doing the Sphera push-up challenge nowadays, right? So for every night that we're counting, right? I try to do that amount of push-ups in the morning, right? So tough times. We're pretty late in the, and it's pretty tough. It's getting a lot harder now than it was in the beginning. But the point
Yeah.
is that like if you're doing these kinds of things, even parking your car further at work so that you walk a little bit longer, right, to and from your work, these little things will add up. And what you're doing is like those push-ups and sit-ups that I was doing in high school to kind of just exhaust my body, right? So if you're doing that, you're taking care of both your body, and then if you really made sure to exert yourself mentally, you're also taking care of our brain.
Okay. Good. Which takes us to what we can do about it, and for what we can do about it, we're going to A, reduce the distractions. B, super stimulate. 3, develop routines that have a built-in incentive. You suggest gummy bears, but really it could be, your
Incentive of
whatever
choice.
works
Yeah. If
for you.
someone wants to go for salad, they could do that too. If you want special kinds of gummies, whatever you want.
Which I need to think about. So this conversation really energized me. I'm glad we had it in the morning, so that it won't keep me up all night tonight. By the
Yeah.
time I get to nighttime, I'll have forgotten that we had this conversation. I'll have forgotten that you exist, and I'll have forgotten most of everything, unless I remember to do my Harvard
Yeah.
course.
The one thing I would say
Okay.
for some people
Mhm.
you could do is like the one physical action is take your charger out of your bedroom, put it in a different bedroom. That's it. Just leave the
Right.
charger there. If you want, you could
Oh,
charge
that's
throughout the day and keep your phone at night. It's totally your choice. But just putting your charger in a different room, for a lot of the people I work with, they say it's been a game changer.
So I would say, right, if you could write this down, maybe on wherever on your Remarkable or whatnot, for a future episode. I want to go back to that. I really want to go back to this idea of like, you know, you have you have some good advice that really works well for you, which is like the take your charger out of your room advice, which is amazing. But also there's a reality clash of that. Sometimes people have a hard time doing that when they've already established a pattern of having a charger in their room. And I want to get back to how to change a deeply ingrained established pattern. Because my guess is, like, when you tell people, here's a genius idea, like take your charger out of your room, they probably do for a couple of nights and then they snap back. So I want to get to how to make a change like that permanent, how to stick to it, because I think that's probably touches on many areas where people with ADHD struggle, where it's like, they'll go to someone for help and get some good ideas, but then come back to them a week or two later and they're all back to their regular patterns.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like that. That'd be great. I would say for now, the NPA, the next physical action for anyone who is inspired by any of this, is to sit down in your phone right now and just set an alarm for the time that you think around you'll be home and not stuck, doing something with your wife or kids or work that you have to get done, like a good 11:42, right? And then have that alarm that says move charger to out of their room. That's it. It'll take you like 12 seconds to set the alarm right now.
Okay, and then send us an email and let us know how it helped and if it stuck.
Yeah.
All right. You've been listening to ADHD on Fire, because we're on fire. Pretty cool. Thanks. Have a great week, Nachi. Take care. Good to see you.